Communication is such an important skill, and it's not just a soft skill. I mean, if you want really to grow and experience a professional transformation, in most of the case, you have to start from communication. And that was really my biggest challenge, mainly because, I mean, of course, also not being mother tongue is also another aspect. The cultural aspect is a second aspect. And the third one is also, the no filter aspect. So when you have to go and present to an audience where nobody, knows you and you have no presentation, you go, right away and you have to get it done and come to a conclusion in a very short time. So definitely it requires a lot of experience and a lot of study, a lot of, lesson learned. And I definitely learned a lot in the last 3 years, especially about communication. And now I can really apply what I learned with my team. And I'm learning, every day from them, from their style of communication. So I know how to adapt to the different, personality and to the different also culture, because I have many of them.
Welcome to 99 Humans. My name is Jeff Lakusta, curious coach and Wall Street Journal best-selling author, striving to understand how little things generate big impact.
And I'm Nadia, Carta, tech executive and lifestyle coach with a mission to transform lives and corporations by kindling hearts to generate a zeal for life.
Each week, we investigate stories about the human side of leadership to re-energize your spirit and help you become a stronger leader.
Because the reality is that leadership is messy, goofy, challenging, but always human.
Thanks for spending time with us today. Let's dive in. Well, I know Nadia is going to be joining us here in a minute.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll take the time before we really jump in just to see if you have any questions. I know Molly has shared a bit of background. Really what we're doing is having they're always fantastic conversations. So it's no stress, but we would love to hear one of your stories about leadership. Not looking like the, picture of Fortune magazine and not looking like the list of amazing impact accomplishments, but really that human side of leadership where it's messy, where it's funny, where it's hard. Because that has been Nadia and I's experience, is that while resumes look very impressive, the realities of what leaders are doing is it's just people working with people. And that's the side that we're really trying to unpack more.
Right. And, dealing with emotion is the most difficult part, right? When you have to deal with emotion, and especially, being a leader in the last 3 years has been challenging, I think, for everyone. We've been through so much with so many change and everything. I mean, definitely for me, the experience that I will bring is my last one, because it's the most, transformational experience, in the sense that I moved to a new role, a new city, I knew everything. So a new configuration also of the family, because I had my baby and then I start this new role in New York. So definitely a lot going on, on my last role. And also my company has been through a lot of transformation. We acquire a new brand in the portfolio. We merged with another big company. I reorganized all the team. I had 3 different bosses in 3 years. So many things.
That's quite a laundry list. Any one of those things sounds like it would come with a lot of human aspects to it. But hey, Nadia, great to see you.
Nice to see you.
I'm coming off straight from revenue call, so.
Oh, wow.
I guess y'all were making your acquaintances, and have you already digging into the messiness?
Yeah, kind of. I was explaining to Jeff that I'm, going through a lot recently. I just visited a new house, so that I really liked. But I was saying to Jeff that, looking for a new house in New York is kind of challenging for many reasons. Yeah, and we will visit new houses also this weekend, so that would be fun.
Well, Jeff, let me tell you, as we start this conversation, I see we're already on air, but Giulia is the real deal. So when we think about complexities, when we think about our problems, from today on, I want you to channel Giulia, and you'll be like, okay, what we do is like, easy in regards. So I don't know if you went through intros, but Giulia and I actually know each other since 20 years. And back in the days, we were just, enjoying our lives, sunbathing and do all of that. Fast forward, she runs an incredible business. I don't know, Giulia, if you said, but whenever Giulia talks about the risks of her job, the decisions she takes, and how difficult all of that is, I'm like, okay, I can go and do some gardening maybe in the meantime. So that being said, I'm going to let her to introduce what she does and get into her stories. But I feel it's going to be a pretty interesting conversation today.
Thank you, Nadia, for the intro. I mean, you know me very well, so it's kind of easy. It's kind of easy. But thanks for all the nice words. So yeah, Jeff, I mean, I was explaining a little bit about me and why I'm here in New York. I basically love challenges, and every time that, I kind of decide to change my job or to do something new, if there is not a big challenge, I'm not in that. So that's, kind of what is explaining a little bit my mood. I love to take risk, and I love to put myself a little bit outside of my comfort zone. And this is what I did also, with my last job experience. Basically, I was pregnant. I was waiting for my second son, and the company was basically deciding to have responsible for the North America market, for the division of the company that is dealing with apparel, footwear, and accessories. I worked for Luxottica for almost 7 years. And when I was in Milan, I was basically in charge of the reorganization of the supply chain of my division that was moving all the operational from the California headquarters to Milan. At that time was such an amazing experience because we had to reorganize an entire supply chain, an entire office. We had to reorganize also the different hubs in the world. So we really had to move warehouse around the world to look for the best configuration. We had to build a new team. And the most challenging part was really to deal with the change of culture, because we were really taking a California brand and move it to Milan. That's a totally different vibe, a totally different culture. So that was the most challenging part, especially of, dealing with people who were basically working for the company and for the brand in California forever and ever. And now, they were immediately moved to a different reality. Milan is the head of fashion, but it's not really California style. So in some case, we had really a cultural shock, especially to let them understand, what is the importance of the surf for, a Californian, a Californian man? Or
I wouldn't say we surf in Milan. I mean, we have a nice river, but surfing, it's another thing.
Right. But everything, everything around sports is just a different culture that you cannot just transmit moving the office and the people. You have to live it. You have to really feel it. So that was really one of the biggest challenge, and also the first time that I really had to deal with big cultural change, and also, deal with people who were disappointed, were not happy because all their life was built around their office and their lifestyle that was all about the wellness and the sports. And then in Milan, working 12 days per day, and not a lot of investment on the health and the wellness, especially during the office time. So that was the biggest challenge for me. And I had to deal, of course, with the creation of a new team. Everybody was really young at that time, so a lot of investment in coaching. But, that was also the kind of experience that changed your mindset, because I had already experience, of course, with, coaching and managing people, but never with this level of complexity, with different culture and different nationality. And after that, while I was waiting my second kid, my boss at that time decided, okay, we have a new opportunity for you. We have to create a connection between the headquarters and the North America market. And we have to reorganize the team in North America in order to have a better process, more organized supply chain structure in North America. So would you like to take this opportunity? And I said, oh yeah, I mean, why not? I'm waiting for a baby. I mean, it's so easy. Of course, I took the challenge, especially because I had my family and my friends, and Nadia was part of this decision too, I remember. I said, yeah, I mean, I want to do this, even if I know that it will be a little bit outside of my comfort zone, because I need to move, my family and restart from scratch. And then 3 years ago, we moved to New York, and I had also the challenge to really rebuild the team here. When I arrived, I had a small team, and I was lucky because many of them were part of the company for a long time. So they had a lot of experience in the field, but at the same time, they were not motivated because, I mean, most of them went through a lot of reorganization and merging, and organizational change are never so easy. So my role was, not only, really working on the process and the productivity and all this interesting stuff, but really create a new cultural atmosphere within the team, and also, create a new path for the person who wanted really to step up and move forward. So this was really the most difficult part of my journey when I moved here.
Giulia, the way you're describing this, I'm imagining there's yeah. Outside of like, oh, I made all these major life changes and had a child in the middle of this, and the hardest part was landing the team culture. I don't know about that. It sounds like there may have been
also just to dwell on that, Jeff. Giulia's not saying anything about what her core role is. Literally, if you go to a shop and you find one of her brand's garments, it's because Giulia did an accurate forecast, and that shop is able to have those items. Like the complexity of her work, like her core work on top of managing the team. Giulia, I think your humbleness is way big.
Really, I think that...
Do we say humbleness, Jeff?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
Giulia, the way I heard your story, I'd almost summarize the cultural aspect as, in Milan, you hosted and created a team with a bunch of fish who were out of water, and then you became the fish out of water.
Correct.
Culturally. And you almost just flipped the script there. And I have many questions, but I'll start with, what would you rather be? Now you've experienced both. Would you rather get a team of a bunch of people who are new and create that culture and help them acclimate, or be the one who's new and acclimate yourself, and why?
Wow, this is a tough question. I mean, I think that you need both in your life. Otherwise, you cannot really appreciate one or the other. At this level in my career, Nadia knows me, I'm always looking to be at a certain time the fish out of the water. Because again, when I feel too much comfortable in something that I'm doing, then I need to do the next step. So definitely is more difficult to be the fish out of the water. And I have to say that when I moved here, I experienced really a lot of additional challenges. First of all, the resistance, when you arrive, there is already a consolidated team and everyone is local. And then you arrive from the other side of the ocean with, a manager role. Everybody is looking at you in the sense that, okay, now you're here. What do you want to teach us? And this is the first reaction that I got. And I had really to invest a lot of time in let them understand that I was here really to, first of all, learn, because mine was really a big learning to move here. I have a solid experience in the supply chain. I've been working in supply chain role for 15 years for many companies. So my biggest challenge, as I said, was not really my role, my responsibility, my KPI, was really dealing with people. So for me, the first meeting, I remember this very well. Everybody was staring at me like, okay, so now you're coming from Milan, you're coming from the headquarters, and everybody has a little bit of prejudice from whoever is coming from corporate, because they think that you want to do things how corporate wants, and you're not gonna really listen their needs. So I had to invest a lot of time in listening, knowing people and knowing a little bit of their background, their history. I had a very, a very complex team. And Nadia is laughing because we discuss my challenge.
Well, Jeff knows a lot about some of the profiles you and I discussed, so feel free to go into the details. Of course, always protecting people's privacy.
Oh, right. Yeah, sure. I had people working for the company for many years, and I had some, kind of gem that I really wanted to protect because they are so experienced and so, knowledgeable about the business, and they're still part of my team. But we had also, some other challenge with the person that, he was in the team and he really wanted to be somewhere else. He had other priority in his life. And you immediately realize when, someone has not really as a first priority the job that he's doing. He has a lot going on his personal side. So we had a lot of interesting conversation. It was really, one of my biggest challenge with him, because he was really naive in the communication. He was really straightforward, really this American approach where, there are no filter in some case. I'm gonna tell you whatever I need to tell you, and then you're gonna figure it out what you're gonna do. And this was the kind of, relationship that we had.
How did you, that sounds, yes, that profile I can relate to big time. And it's always a challenge. I love your coded language. I think you said we had a lot of interesting conversations. Message received. And I'm curious just how the layers of what was happening in your life intersected with those interesting conversations, because those conversations are exhausting. I find them to be, you kind of know the end of the story, which is this probably isn't going to work out, but the road to get to the end can be an exhausting one. And here you are with a new baby and a new country and a new team. And everything is new. And I'm just wondering what that looked like for you and how you managed through it.
Yeah, it was hard. And especially because, I had all my family stuff going on, all my, new things to settle down. But I also know that on the other side, he had also a lot going on. So when I realized that also on the other side, he had a lot going on. I also started to become more and more, understanding of his situation. And honestly, I found this as an opportunity to work together to build his next step. Because, I mean, nobody wants to have someone in the team who is not happy, who is not gonna, be productive because he's not in the right place. But I also realized that he had a lot of potential. So we really worked in understanding what were his unique value proposition that he wanted to bring to the team and to the company. So at the end, long story short, I mean, I really helped him to get promoted, but in a different division, because honestly he had a lot of talent. He was just in the wrong place, in the wrong timing. And at that time, as you said, I was going through a lot, so I really needed to build a team made of partners and someone who was really rowing with me in the same direction. It's like a team. You need to row in the same direction, and you need really to consolidate the effort. If you have someone who is rowing in the opposite direction, you are doing much more effort and you are, tired. So I have to really save my energy for all what was going on. But at the end, I think that we found our path, and he found also his path. But the beginning, was tough because this lasted for, almost 2 years, all these conversations. So I'm just summarizing this, but then at the end, it took a while to get there.
I mean, once again, here we are listening to you like it was easy peasy. And so many managers that are listening to this, so many leaders went through the same thing. And, summarizing what you said, of course, a lot of listening and a lot of empathy. But I bet you were also the victim of all of the workload that maybe you are carrying for this person going forward. So my question to you eventually is, what was that spirit that was carrying you forward that you were like, I'm going to get through it, and once it's done, it's going to be another adventure? What was holding you sane?
Yeah, definitely I had to work harder to compensate, and I was also new, so I had to work harder anyway. And I was also a new mom. I had to work, harder even more. I mean, what really made me feel strong enough to cope with all of this was also the responsibility that I had versus my family, we made this decision as a family to move here and to take this opportunity, but in a certain sense, and I know that it's not even easy to say, but I felt kind of responsible for all what was going, what was going on with my family, and also, with my kids. I said, okay, listen, I took this decision, and now it's gonna work, this decision. So I started really working hard, but also I started investing a lot of time on networking, because when you are new in a company, but also in a city, you need your team, you need your network. So that's why I started really investing a lot in my network on a professional side, but also on a personal side. And really, people gave me the strength, people inside the organization that started, understand me and knowing me better. They gave me a lot of strength. At that time, I mean, I didn't tell you one thing, that when I moved here, the VP who hired me prior my arrival, so prior my move to New York, he left the company. So he decided to change company. So when I arrived, I didn't have a real boss. So at that time, I was basically reporting to the president of the company. It was really very, very hard to have time with him, and even, a kind of support, because he's a very busy man. And secondly, after 1 year and a half, basically the team was reorganized. So I was assigned to the supply chain of the eyewear, that is the core division of the company. And this lasted for less than 1 year, and then another organization. So even, usually when you have a boss and someone who trusts in you, it's also kind of easy to build a relationship and to get also some support, especially if you have to deal with different conversation with your team or difficult decision they have to take. I mean, at that time, I didn't even have, a single point of reference. I mean, really, my strength was coming from all my network, especially from the headquarters, because the team is basically very complex, because everyone has at least 2 or 3 basically bosses in this role. You have a local one, you have a global one. So I still had a lot of contact with Milan and with the headquarters, and people there were really trusting a lot in what I was doing. So they were really giving me a lot of support in all these difficult times. So I worked very hard, and I didn't get a lot of support locally, but from the headquarters and from all the investment that I made in relationship and the network on a global side, I got a lot of support. And lastly, of course, my family and my friends are the most important resource that I have, as always.
Your story is bringing up so many gems, but one little aside I would love to go down, because we haven't talked about this on the show yet, is that experience of not having a manager. There was a sustained period in my career where I did not have a manager, and the first thought I had was honestly, whoa, this is awesome.
Yeah.
The parents are gone. Let the kids play. This is going to be great. And then I grew very quickly to appreciate the real challenges that suddenly existed that didn't before. And so your summary of this was a challenge really resonates with me. And I think there is an increasing number of people facing this challenge exactly right now. We're living through tech layoffs. There's many people reporting to folks in the tech industry who they didn't used to. All of the economic changes are meaning people are operating at new scrappy levels, and that will only increase. So I think this is a really interesting vein, and I'm curious, what did you learn in that time that helped you navigate such a challenging situation so that when I next face it, I can do better at managing someone who isn't used to maybe managing my type of leadership scope?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, being without a manager seems to be okay. I have more autonomy. I can be more flexible, but it's not, because so first of all, you are more exposed and you don't have any kind of filter. So I learned about, diplomacy. So I used to be really, direct and straightforward in my communication. But that's different if you don't have any filter and any boss, and then you have really to deal with, top management and difficult conversation. I learned to be really a little bit diplomatic, and this was not really my best skill at that moment.
Giulia, I would love to say for all of the people that are not American, and I know, Jeff, you're American and I love you, but the way Americans communicate is very different than Italy. Like the sandwich, there's no sandwich in Italy.
No.
So even learning about that, come on, let's say things straight.
Right. No, I mean, Nadia, you said exactly, you are spot on, because when I arrived, I had this corporate approach and also Italian approach. I used to work also with, a lot of people around the world, but I was not really there. So I didn't really experience the type of culture. So I had to learn a lot. And my first learning was really adapt my communication. adapt my communication, having this soft approach, and also, summary. So my first feedback, on one of the official meeting, of course, without my boss, without any kind of filter, was cut. So basically, everything had to be cut. I mean, you have to be really learning this type of communication that is very synthetic, and you go straight to the point, because people in the audience had such a tight agenda and no time. And then,
can I challenge you there, or understand? Because that's a piece of this puzzle that boggles my mind. So your first lesson was nicer, softer, gentler. But then your second lesson almost seems to counter that with get straight to the point, cut. How do those two things come together? What does a gentle, straight to the point, maybe that's what you're describing, but help me understand it, because I'm the American in the room going, what is the American style of communication? I don't even know.
I have an idea. We've never done this on the podcast before. Can we do the script like Dr. Becky does? Like, we do the script. Okay, Giulia, let's say you're in a call with one of your, coworkers, and you're soft and gentle, but also succinct. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, how are you? You started with, all what's going on in your life, but then cut. So, okay, let's go straight to the point, and let's discuss about, this KPI, because about this KPI, we had to discuss the point A, B, and C. So these are the main outcome. This is, the first scenario. This is the to be. So now I'm presenting you all the option, and we need to take a decision by X, Y, Z.
Giulia, you've won me. This sounds, as an American, yeah, spot on. You nailed it. What's different about that than the way that you were communicating before?
Oh, welcome to Italy.
Help me out. Take me there.
A lot.
Okay, now we're going to have Giulia in Italy. 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, you started a little bit presenting the project and how you get there. I mean, a lot about, we did this research, and then we analyzed this, and then we thought that the best option will be this KPI. Now this KPI is measuring this performance, but then they were also thinking that it might be another option that,
okay,
and they get really confused. So, yeah. I mean, if I look to myself 3 years ago, I mean, it was a totally different kind of conversation and style, but especially not having a boss gave me a lot of, challenges, but also space of improvement. Also, a lot of challenge, because in many cases you are in the meeting, and most of the case your boss is introducing you. In some case, you are new, you have to present yourself, but who you are. I mean, you are presenting to this top management, and you have to go straight to the point, cut, and gentle and everything. So it's a lot. It was a lot to process in my head. Really, I was, okay, I need to cut. And then I have to be gentle. I was so stressed from all these aspects, honestly.
No,
really, it was that. Now, I'm laughing, but at that time was really stressful, especially because you are exposed, no filter, no support. I had to take decision by my own, and then, also taking the responsibility for that. So that was hard.
I think the amplification of that challenge, because of the cultural difference, is a really powerful example, because your core message of, look, the number one thing that I learned and that I was challenged by in this situation was communication. Right. And there were a lot of elements to that, but that resonates a lot with me as well. Your communication, my communication, changes dramatically based on who in the org, where in the org we're speaking to. And I think that is a really wonderful takeaway for me, for our listeners, in how might they manage that? Okay, well, first look at your communication and see what might need to adjust.
Right. No,
but
this is
also,
very
and I mean, Jeff, you and I spoke about this even a few days ago. Not many people have the, how can I say in a gentle way, the
talking of gentle.
desire to embrace the idea that they need to work on their communication. It's one of those things that we continue to categorize as soft skills, right? Like among many others that we discussed on this podcast, but eventually has the hardest of the impacts. So how are we going to reconcile that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, communication is such an important skill, and it's not just a soft skill. I mean, if you want really to grow and experience a professional transformation, in most of the case, you have to start from communication. And that was really my biggest challenge, mainly because, I mean, of course, also not being mother tongue is also another aspect. The cultural aspect is a second aspect. And the third one is also, the no filter aspect. So when you have to go and present to an audience where nobody, knows you and you have no presentation, you go, right away and you have to get it done and come to a conclusion in a very short time. So definitely it requires a lot of experience and a lot of study, a lot of, lesson learned. And I definitely learned a lot in the last 3 years, especially about communication. And now I can really apply what I learned with my team. And I'm learning, every day from them, from their style of communication. So I know how to adapt to the different, personality and to the different also culture, because I have many of them. So that's interesting too.
I mean, and that's also different because in America, we are more exposed to the fact that people come from every place and every word that you say can have a different impact. And, for us European, we come from a country where everyone is white like us, everyone is Italian, everyone went to the same colleges. And so here we have that pleasure and luxury to really learn what does it mean to being in a global environment. So those are all things that are super interesting to noodle over on for our humans.
Right.
Giulia, as we approach the end of this podcast, we always ask for our special guests to give us a gift that they would like to leave for the listeners, some words of wisdom when you reflect on the story that you shared with us and the experiences that you've had in changing cultures and contexts and building teams within those different contexts. What lesson would you give to listeners here?
So definitely that it's never too late to put ourselves in a situation where we are not comfortable. In some cases, we think, oh yeah, I mean, we have already a lot of experience in this and this. But we never have to think that there is no more to learn. So I have this approach that I want also to transmit every time to my team and it's a little bit inspired to the Japanese culture that is about Kaizen. This Kaizen approach is like a continuous improvement that is made of small and little improvement, little by little, that you can bring to a process or simply to one thing in your life. So I love this really Kaizen approach that is really inspired from the Japanese culture, because it makes you feel that there is always something to learn and something to improve in every single thing that we do. So even if, I thought that I was a good manager, and then when I moved here, then I had to rethink about everything and also my communication style. I never had big problem with the communication when I was in Italy. Then I moved here, and then I realized that communication was my area of development, and I had to invest and study a lot. But I think that really what I will transmit as my area of wisdom is definitely, this continuous approach and this continuous curiosity to learn something new that will really, really, really help in every part of our life. I mean, not only in a professional way, but also on a personal way. So, yeah, this is my my wisdom.
So beautiful. Well, Jeff, you should know Julia's husband lived in Tokyo, so that's why she's bringing Kaizen, maybe.
I was writing it down. I love this concept. Bit by
Yeah.
bit improvement. I mean, that's a wonderful way to approach it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm really in love with the Japanese culture. Yeah, my husband used to live there, and I used to go quite often to visit him. And I really had the opportunity to understand also, this Asian culture, but especially the Japanese culture is all oriented to the other. So more human than them. I think that, I mean, you cannot beat them. They are very, very caring about you. The importance of the customer service and the importance of the customer in general. That can be a real customer, but even your friend, your colleague. So I think that we have a lot to learn from them, but even this continuous approach of improvement, little by little. I mean, they never speak about, a huge change, but really this little step that you can do to then move forward. It's a very fascinating culture. So I was really in love with that. And now I really embedded this culture in my daily thinking and in my daily behavior, right?
Arigato.
Gozaimasu.
I'm so jealous. Japan was the trip that COVID canceled. I feel like everyone has a trip. So this is still very, very high on my list of places to visit.
You have to go. You have to go, really. April will be the best month to go for the blooming of all the cherry blossom, but really it's a trip that you
Let's just do a podcast with Japanese tourist information.
That's amazing.
We can do that. I mean, Giulia knows my dear friend that she just moved to Tokyo. We could have her actually on. She is a badass entrepreneur in plastic surgery. Maybe we ask her to be on the podcast. Good idea. Yeah.
That's a great idea in the reality. Yeah.
Well, Giulia, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure on a Friday afternoon to get to hear a little about you and your adventures. I mean, you have faced a lot, and your ability to frame all of this as learning opportunities and interesting conversations where you've been through the fire and you have built an incredible skill set that benefits your company and your team. It's amazing.
Thank you. I mean, for me, it was an honor. And yeah, I mean, I really love Nadia, and what you are doing is just amazing. I always hear your podcast, and that's such an amazing initiative because it's really important to discover also the human side of all these leaders and not always, applying the facade of everything is perfect and it's gonna be perfect. No. So really, I appreciate what you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Giulia.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Bye. See you soon. Bye. Bye.
Amazing woman. What a story. We didn't get into parenthood, motherhood, being but so many layers to that story.
I mean, Giulia is my lifelong friend. I mean, 20 years. So we were just kids when we met, and she could do another 3 or 4 episodes, let's say, on things that she went through her life that really shaped her. And maybe I should launch a mom's podcast with her, probably.
Yeah, there you go. There's something that definitely does not look perfect and flashy all the time.
Oh, yeah. Perfection definitely wasn't part of that. Okay, Jeff. So let's start with you. What was your preferred moment, let's say, among all of the amazing moments we had, really?
I really do like her desire, when the question was, would you rather have a team of fish out of water or be the fish out of water? And she said, I always want to be the fish out of water because that's where I feel challenged and I learn. And that was a wonderful way of framing, even if it's not a cultural change like we were talking about, a country change. I mean, that's such a dramatic, obvious way to look at being a fish out of water. But there's ways that are in our control, even without picking up and moving to a new location. Now, personally, I just picked up and moved to Atlanta, and it feels like a whole different culture from 11 years in San Francisco. It's still the US, but it is very, very different. So that resonates with me even in that cultural sense. But look, I feel like I have to constantly battle the slide into contentment and to remember to be out of water in different aspects and to learn and to grow. And it isn't up to my company to give me the growth opportunities. It's up to me to go find them. That's an empowering and an important lesson, I think.
Very good one. Very good one.
Nadia, how about you? You obviously have 20 years to pull on of favorite takeaways from Giulia here, but what sticks out to you?
Well, but and I know we've had other of my friends in this podcast, and it's always fascinating how what they say is totally different than what I know about them. So it gives me such an interesting angle of who they are and all of it. For example, she never brought to me this concept of Kaizen. And I mean, Giulia's like a dear friend. I spend my weekends with her. Our daughters are BFFs. So that's the level. Like, she's like a sister. And this, it was interesting because before this podcast, we recorded another incredible example of learning. And it's almost like it was the pattern of the day. And what resonated with me a lot is because it's the idea that often we want to change everything. Okay, I'm just going to change everything. I'm going to change my routines. I'm going to change my team. You know, like this very abrasive thinking, which is very Nadia. Like, I'm definitely all in, like, boom, cut the hand. Whereas, you know what? We can be gentle. And we can have the curiosity of changing one thing. And then another thing. And then another thing. And then transforming up a step at a time. So I'm going to research this concept of Kaizen, which was the first time I was learning about it. It was very, like, intriguing me. And I believe that probably we need a little bit more Kaizen in our days as a way to be compassionate with ourselves.
So Nadia, with learning being the topic of the day, what are you learning right now?
Ooh. Are you throwing the coaching question at me?
I figure we end the day and I'll answer too, because it is interesting. You know, maybe the universe is telling us something here.
Well, it certainly is. I mean, we are on a path with this podcast of, you know, continuous discovery. And we are recording this today in a moment where our industry is going through a massive, massive disruption. Like, we are in a moment that we've never seen before. And what am I learning today is that it's just okay to be where I am if I am tweaking that thing that will allow me to do one more step. And that Rome is not built in a day. And guess what? It's okay if I continue to build it a brick at a time. So this is what is growing on me. I'm like, you know what? I'm fine. I have one more brick today.
I love that.
What about you?
I think, well, tactically, we published our 10th episode, so congratulations. Yay. 10 feels like something worth celebrating. So I feel like I really am learning how to do a podcast. I mean, it's challenging. There's things that pop up. There's parts of our system and our process that are breaking or are really working surprisingly, you know, and all of this is really the journey of discovery. because I've never done it before. I don't think I would have done it without, our collaboration and our ability to share the load and share the inspiration versus the downs and the ups. It's a good balance. So there's that's a very tactical, and I love that because I really do feel like I'm learning something I don't know how to do. And then to your point on the tech, transformation, I was having a conversation with my team, just open, more of these things are happening now because it's so important to come together and talk about, what are you hearing? Yes, more layoffs over here, more layoffs over there. Folks who are newer to the team are certainly tend to be a little bit more fearful than others who've been here longer. So talking is important. And, it really dawned on me that in my time in career length, I've ridden the good times for the vast majority of my entire career because the global economy has been in good times for a very long time, a weird amount of time. And being the leader of a team, but never having had this experience, that's something I'm really learning is, well, how do you help a team navigate the bad times? How do you, there can be individual bad times, but global bad times are a new challenge and something that I don't have a deep well of experience on. So it's requiring some real intentionality and more reading and more learning to help folks get through this.
Well, think how amazing it will be that in one of your future interviews, when someone will ask me, tell me about a time where you went through turbulent waters, you can start saying, there was a situation and this was happening and my actions were, and these were the results. So you'll have your story.
Oh, yeah. We're making it right now. Well, Nadia, fantastic conversation. Great to see you. I hope you have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Ciao.
Bye.